Hello! What's going on, everybody? Welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm your host, D22, and let's do some review. Hope you guys are trading well. Bit of a pullback here in the markets today. I love to see it. It's good for longevity. I will start off with the only long swing I'm still in is Navini, but any of the other large caps, large mid caps that I feel could be market related, I took all of those positions off today and put on some short swings. So APLD, I took that one off. I had bought a little bit more off the open when it pulled back and looked to stabilize. And I was just still risking versus prior day's lows, just a bit bigger of a risk. And once the market kept pulling back, everything stayed heavy. I just moved on there. EQ, sold that one right around the same time. Tesla, sold that one right around the same time. Use, this was kind of the warning shot that made me start reevaluating my swing ideas. So really nice day here, gap up, weak open, looked like it was starting to, if I take out that, really constructive action. This is what I like to see off of weak opens. So I added some more and just sized up versus prior day's lows in here in the 940s. And once that got hit, took it off, no questions asked. It was speeding up. This is panic type action. So once I got the first 1 minute bar to make a new high, I tried a little panic dip buy, but it was heavy as a sin and did not want any part of that. So Joby, trading this one in and out around a core, covered into the morning weakness, rescaled around that core, covered a little bit into close, still have about 2/3 of that position. Microsoft, covered a little bit of that one towards the close, but still swinging probably about 3/4 of that position. Master, this one here, fit the plan to a T on those 358s breakdown, and that was right where I shorted, was the opening range lows. I think the 1 minute's a bit clearer. Opening range lows right on that 358.50s and risk versus highs a day. And this thing did not uptick. Just got absolutely smoked for 30 points. So on any size you wanted, to catch $30 a share is definitely a nice little winner. Sat on your hands. Yeah, I didn't trade XNet. It was just too choppy. Kind of what we figured. And Tanya did pull back, but that was just a random whoop pullback. It needed higher to be ideal, so I don't blame you there. Don't feel that's typical for that extension. Yeah, you're 100%. You are 100%. Yeah, Palantir. I didn't trade Palantir. I had other market-related names, obviously. But you get the, I wonder if I should... I think I'm going to switch over to the daily chart because I have the moving averages on it, and that's going to be more important for the discussion here. Let me do this and resize this. And then at least it's got the moving averages there. So I will just have to remember that I'm on this chart. So you can catch these market pullbacks and just use a different vehicle, so to speak. So if you're looking for the market fade to trade with SPY, something that made more sense to me was MSTR because we have this support breakdown lining up with the 200 SMA. So I get the exact same move with the market, but I have a daily setup that I can get behind. Where Palantir, like looking at this daily, I don't see any reason why today was the big collapse day versus any of the other days. Has Bear or Ducks posted any crazy gains since March? I have no idea. I don't really, I don't really follow too much for the P&L side of things. So yeah, that one, anyways, pulled back into the 50-day. Today could find some support there, but who knows? S&P 500 pulling back into the 10 and 20. If it breaks below those, could pull back towards the 50. That would be good for those short trades. Jobby, so far, this one here is gapping down and kind of fizzling out here in after hours. So that bodes well for that short swing. I don't have the after hours on this chart. Maybe I should just keep this. Let me see here. I'll fix this. Give me a minute. Give me uno momento. Now that I've screwed up my chart size, shove this into the corner, open this thing up. There we go. I'll stay on this chart. It's got executions. And I will add all the moving averages. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hey, leave it. Let me do these. And then I will I just don't have the moving averages on the intraday charts. I just have them on my daily charts. But having multiple screens and only sharing one, it's kind of a mess, but that's all right. It's so messy. Let me just remove everything. Yeah, that's fine. You can see this support break. That was the reason for the shortened swing. And then range potential was into the upper 13s towards the 50-day. But so far it is fizzling out here in after hours. So I likely just cover a gap down tomorrow. But we will see. MSTR was really nice because it was lining up with this support line, but also with the 200-day. So this is the first day closing below the 200. Looked like it was going to do it here, but reclaimed right away. So it looks more like this kind of action where we could get a little gap up, but I think inevitably pulls back. Ideally, just get a gap down, flush, and see you later. I think this, like, you could put this in the same boat as any of those big picture breakout long ideas, where if you want to risk versus like today's highs and just swing it. But I typically like to just nail a move. Like, I think I'm already up like 4R on this just intraday. So for me to swing it, I feel is a bit greedy, even though the big picture says I should. Microsoft, same kind of thing. Goal was a pullback into the 50-day, and it was this sideways fail below the 20-day. So nice 2 days. Look for a gap down fail. So those are the three. I think I have 3 shorts on. Jobby, Microsoft, Master. I got out of all those longs. Yeah. Yeah, that's the positions I'm in. Makes sense. I did not participate in the market fade, mostly trade small caps for now. Do you know the overall reason for the market pullback? Not really. I just kind of saw it happening. And like there are news guys like I'm sure if I look in IU or something there's guys that'll say something. Let's see. Yeah, I don't really see much reason for the pullback. Yeah. I was just looking at IU if any of the news guys had posted anything, but that's the thing with if you're a news trader, um, you can trade off of that fundamental thesis that the news shifts the stocks. And I didn't go out looking for news today, but what I did recognize once U's started to panic, this was a very bullish daily that didn't continue higher. That's a red flag. APLD, that was a very bullish daily that didn't continue higher. And if you recall last week, I had a day last week where I tried a few different long ideas like AEO, APLD was one of them. I tried AEO here and it gaps down. So I'm getting like red flag after red flag that these daily charts that should be pushing higher aren't. And then U's just completely doesn't bounce. And then you've got stuff like Palantir unwinding. You've got Microsoft unwinding. And Microsoft had steady relative weakness all day yesterday when SPY was just chopping sideways. So you have these big names. NVIDIA starts pulling back today. So I'm just recognizing across the board there was just a bunch of weakness, and it makes sense that I shouldn't be forcing long trades if everything is fading, especially if they're market-related names. So, yeah, I don't know if there was news. I didn't see any news personally, but what I did see was a reaction to why ever the market was pulling back, and technical-wise, can react to that just as a technical and price action trader. You still in touch with Taco? Yeah, he's in a bit of a rough patch for the last little while. But I've still been talking with him. I don't know if he's going to come back, but he got in a bit of a rough patch and, yeah, took some time to himself. It's nice to put yourself around people that are great with market news. IU is great. Everyone has their strengths, like the mastermind principle, getting everyone together. Yeah. Try to be, and that's the thing with like having a pod or a network of traders or something. When you go to events like Traders for a Cause or in-person meetups, you start to network with people and you find out what they're good at and they find out what you're good at. And you can provide value in some ways that they lack and vice versa. And it makes for like a little trading team. And it's super helpful day to day. Like I don't follow news like at all. If I didn't have IU, I don't know what I would do for news. You've got Champ in there, you've got T530 in there, you've got their AI news tool that scrapes everything. So I don't know what I'd do if I didn't have IU for news, but I definitely do not look for news. I trade the chart and then news is a byproduct. So with that being said, I will go into some watches for tomorrow. We've got some stuff setting up very similar to like how MSTR and Microsoft and those names set up. X4 still hasn't gone away. Did break 320s, topped out at prior highs. With breakouts not really working, I don't know if I want to force an idea on it, but just keeping it on watch. But main watch is into tomorrow. So with NVIDIA pulling back, semiconductors getting hit. So ARM was one of the ones. I've traded this one in the past. When was it? Right here, I think. Where we've got this big base, and then I short it right here for that pullback. It loses the 50-day and pulls back to the 200-day. You trade from demand to demand, supply to supply. And we're getting a very similar move right here. Was that my phone? Yeah. Give me a minute. One sec. Sorry, guys. Duty calls. Putting out fires at frickin' 9 o'clock at night. That's ridiculous. Sorry, we probably we probably lost 1 million viewers. I was on the phone for too long. The beauty of business ownership. Okay, I was on the phone ordering a Urus. Sounds about right. Yeah. Alrighty, so going is all good. I know that landlord life. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so as far as watches tomorrow, I like these large cap names. ARM in that semiconductor basket. Nice pullback, gap down, failed follow through. This looks like same kind of thing where I was talking about. I'm not a news trader. I'm gonna look and see why this gap down was here, but I imagine it was probably earnings. News driven at least. Consolidated on the 200, closed below it. So I like any pops into these 135s. As long as it doesn't gap down too much, I'd probably short near the open. But pops into these 135s I like for a lean. I think this could get hit. MXL, same kind of thing. I believe this one's a semi as well, but this one's losing the 50-day. Big stuff, same kind of thing as Jobby, where you get that left side clear out, right side lower high, and then starts to break down. So I like pops versus that 15 area. Upstart, I've traded this thing a bunch in the past. This one here is losing the 200-day as well after a little bear flag breakdown here under those 61 halves. AVAV, same kind of thing, losing the 50-day under this sideways consolidation. What I'd really like to see is this get hit and maybe get a fade into the gap towards the daily VWAP into like that 200 level. I think that is within shot if I wanted to swing it. And then CCJ, a little bit different because I don't have that sideways consolidation breakdown, but we have these higher lows and the first close below the 50-day in a very long time. Once it reclaimed it there back in April, where it broke below it here end of last year. So it's been on a tear, first day closing below it. And if this starts to lose these 73s, basically takes out today's lows tomorrow, then I think that one could get hit. But you can see just heavy sell side across all of these names. The exact same intraday price action, just looks like a trend shift to me. So those will be my main watches going into tomorrow. Chris is still here. Good. But yeah, so we'll look for gap downs, flushes to cover out of Jobby, Master, Microsoft, and then possibly rescale on pops. Now that those setups have come and gone, I've gone over that with small caps where I love the market environment when you just get to shift from one name to the next. And typically it happens in small caps where you get a sector leader and then a sympathy off of it and then a sympathy off of it. And you get like a front side move, you trade that breakout, and then you trade that first red day, and then another breakout comes while that one's fading, and then you play that backside bounce while that one's breaking out, and you just get set up off of different names. And I'm looking for that to happen on these large caps, where Jobby was the first one. It broke down a couple days ago. Microsoft broke down yesterday and now faded, and then MicroStrategy broke down today. And then a bunch of these other names, ARM, MXL, they're starting to fail. I think the early entry on these is all today, but they're all just starting to break down and trigger those entries. So just one name to the next, and ideally it starts to fail. But with the long side breakouts getting stuffed so hard and then finally getting that market pullback, I think it also could be this pullback that I thought was hard crack lower highs, maybe grinds shorts out a little bit farther than they expected, and then now this is the pullback, I think is definitely a possible scenario. Not my pattern, but what are your thoughts on PGen? Daily wise looks fine. Doesn't have a history of any sort of volatility, which is kind of weird. Not a ton of range there on day one. Yeah, I don't think this one has much spike ability. Like if you look on the daily, it's never ran in the past. You can go back as far as you want. These daily candles just have zero range. And then once you get 170 million shares, come on. You get 170 million shares and it barely moves a buck. So I just don't think it has much volatility in it. But I think that's what's nice about if you start to venture, and even if you trade super small on these large caps. That's where I started. Was I would only trade small cap longs, and then I ventured into the short side, and then I ventured into mid caps, and then I ventured into swing trading, and just kind of slowly expand that playbook one setup at a time. And I started trading these daily failed follow throughs on large caps when you get market weakness back here in 2024 when we finally had a pullback. If you look at SPY back in April 2024, right here, we had that first pullback in the markets that started to fail below the 50-day, and that just pulled a bunch of names with it. I think Upstart I traded back then as well. Right here, this little breakdown. Whoop. MSTR. You had that big parabolic, pulled back. So, yeah. Right on. What daily averages do you all use? What daily averages do you all use to watch them larger caps? What daily like moving averages? I've got the 10, the 20, the 50, and the 200. Yeah. These ones up here. I've heard from guys like Ariel and Kulamagi that you're supposed to use the simple moving averages. I do use the exponential 4, like I've gone over for my overextension first red days on small caps. But for swing trading, I use these 4. They just come into play. And when they start to lose like the 50-day or the 200-day, like you can see like right here on ARM, when the market pulled back, it lost the 50-day, and that was the trigger. Where if you tried to anticipate that breakdown at any other point, it didn't work. And then you get the 10 and the 20 starting to tighten. It crosses the 50, price closes below it, and then you get that waterfall, and it pulls back right to the 200. So you get the move from moving average to moving average. That's why, like trading like Microsoft, for example, it lost the 10 and 20 right here, so I shorted it, and then we're getting a pullback, and we're going towards the 50-day, so I think it should bounce off of there. MicroStrategy lost the 200. So, all good. Alrighty, guys. Well, it's almost midnight there Eastern. Sorry I took up a bit of time with those phone calls, but my main watch is going to be those large caps as long as the market continues to stay weak. And I will look to fade those and flip bias to the short side. So, trade them well, guys. Stay safe. Don't try to fight anything. If you're wrong, don't stay wrong. Trade them well, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.